Hello, my dear students. I welcome you all to the next lecture. I think I'll finish it off. I just had a break. So the next topic that we are going to have is that next one is really very short, physical and chemical changes. I'll not go in depth of that because that is really very short topic and it's very easy also. Basically, physical and chemical changes. The physical changes that we are, what is a physical change that we can see with our eyes physically, like change of state is a physical change. If ice melts into water is a physical change. There is no chemical change, no change in the chemical composition. The molecular formula of ice is H2O, the molecular formula of water is H2O, and molecular formula of steam also is H2O. Basically they are all having same molecular composition, so there is no change in their chemical composition, but definitely the physical composition has changed. Solid has become liquid, liquid has become steam. So these are physical changes. Any change in the physics of the substance is a physical change. We have some examples they have given in the textbook. By them also you will be able to understand. See, classify the following as chemical or physical changes. There are changes taken place. We have to identify whether the change is a physical or a chemical change. Cutting of trees. See, if a tree is cut, the tree is cut, it is broken, but there is no change in its chemistry. So it is a physical change. Melting of butter in a pan. See, butter is melted. It has changed its state, solid to liquid, but there is no chemical reaction taking place. The chemistry of butter has not changed. So even now it is a physical change. Next is rusting of almirah. Almirah is basically iron. Iron has rusted. This is definitely a chemical change because there is a change in the chemistry. When you see this change that iron has rusted, so basically what is happening, iron is getting oxidized. The oxygen in the air or the oxygen in the water that is coming in contact with the iron is getting oxidized and then we get rust. So there is a chemical change taking place between the oxygen and the iron. So this is definitely a chemical change. Boiling of water to form steam. So boiling of water to form steam, the water liquid is converted into steam. Only a change of matter, change of state. There is no change in the chemical composition. So this also is a physical change. Passing of electric current through water and the water breaking down into hydrogen and oxygen gases. So water is there. Water is definitely a molecule made up of 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen atom. When electric current is passed through them, it is broken down and hydrogen and oxygen gas is formed. So definitely this is a chemical change because the molecule of water H2O has broken into H2 and O. So definitely this is a chemical change. Dissolving common salt into water. This is again a physical change. Common salt has just dissolved into water. The chemistry has remained same. Making fruit salad with raw fruits and making fruit salad with raw fruits. So you are just making fruit salad. There is no chemical change taking place over there. Burning of paper and wood is definitely a chemical change because paper has been burnt. So it is, after getting burnt, it has converted into carbon dioxide, smoke. Carbon dioxide has remained down, black. So basically this is a chemical change. Same is with the wood. When you burn the wood converts into smoke, it goes out and what remains back down is carbon. Okay. So this is there. This is just a physical change and a chemical change. But the next topic is very, very important. What are the types of pure substances? We have understood that the matter around us is basically broadly divided into pure substances and mixtures. Some are pure. Pure means they are made up of single type of substances. Mixture has got more than 2 types of substances. That is mixture, and we have learnt about mixture. Mixture are solutions, suspensions and colloidal solutions. So among them also there suspensions are homogeneous type of mixtures, whereas suspensions are heterogeneous and colloidal also are heterogeneous. And then again various properties, some are homogeneous, uniform in composition, they are not uniform in composition and all. Next that we go through is we have to understand pure substances. Pure substances also are further divided broadly into three types. One is elements. This is very important topic, the core topic. The other one is compound. I'll again try to explain them while distinguishing them. And the other one is, of course we have learnt about them, mixture, but then we have to understand them in distinguished form. Now you will understand mixture even more better way. See, where you go to distinguish, there is not a big difference between elements, compounds, or elements and mixture. There is not a very big difference, but definitely compound and mixture is a bigger topic compared to elements and compounds, elements and mixture. See, what are elements? First of all, try to understand this. What is an element, what is a compound, and then what is a mixture? See, element basically is, examples of element if I talk about, hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, fluorine, all these elements, they are all elements. And now you talk about compounds. What are compounds? See, water is a compound, H2O. Carbon dioxide is a compound, CO2. Sodium chloride is a compound. Is a compound. I can also say hydrochloric acid is a compound. So these all are compounds and these are elements. Now what is the basic difference? See, I can break, if I think about breaking them, I can break them into two different elements, hydrogen and oxygen. I can break them into two different elements, carbon and oxygen. I can separate them or break them into two different elements, sodium and chlorine. Here also hydrogen and chlorine are two different elements. Elements, you can't break them further. You can't break them further. Simple as that. Elements are the most basic identity you can consider in that way. So elements are the one which are made up of atoms. You can only say that elements are made up of atoms of same type, having same atomic number. You can't break them further into two different substances. No. Element is the smallest indivisible identity. Compound can be broken into elements. The smallest identity that element can have is an atom. Atom is its smallest identity. And a compound has a molecule. One water molecule is H2O is one water molecule. Two hydrogen and one oxygen makes one molecule of water. So one molecule of water is the smallest identity of water. So molecule is the smallest identity of water. If you break this molecule, you will get hydrogen and oxygen. But they are basically elements. The moment you break down into hydrogen and oxygen, no water is there. Now there is no more water. So I will have to say that the smallest identity of a compound, water, is a molecule, whereas smallest identity of the element is the atom. See, are you getting this much? I know, see, you try to understand it. You may find it confusing, but slowly, steadily, as you understand it in a broader way, you will be able to understand this. So first and foremost, when I talk, see, try to understand, take the examples of compounds. The example of compound of water, carbon dioxide, any these things. Any these are compounds, substances I can say, which have a different molecular formula, are compounds. Elements, basically, if I talk about what are elements, then elements are made of atoms of same type having same atomic number. If I talk how they are made, then they are made of this. And same when I talk about compound. Now see, compounds are made up of, are composed of elements. They are composed of elements. Carbon is an element, oxygen is an element, hydrogen is an element, chlorine is an element. They are all elements. The compounds are composed of elements. And remember, one more thing you have to add. They are not only made up of elements, they are composed of elements mixed in definite proportion. That word is very important. Why it is important? Because see, when you are making a compound water, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen only will come together. You can't take any other composition. You can't take HO2, that will be not water. Similarly, carbon dioxide means CO2. Now you can't take C2O. The moment you take it is a not carbon dioxide. If you take CO3, then it becomes carbonate. Now it is no more carbon dioxide. So compound is composed of elements, 2 or more elements. 2 or more elements. Compound is composed of 2 or more elements mixed in definite proportion. This is very important. Compound is composed of 2 or more elements. You can better avoid telling substances. Avoid using the word 2 or more substances, 2 or more constituents. Definitely they are constituents, but they are elements. So 2 or more elements mixed in definite proportion. This is very, very, very important. Why? Because that is the basic difference between compound and a mixture. Compound and a mixture. Basically, mixture also is composed of 2 or more substances. Now you can say substances. 2 or more substances. And here there is no definite proportion. Like basically the most basic mixture that we have learned till now again and again in the previous lecture, salt solution, sugar solution. You take water, add 1 spoon of sugar into it, it is a mixture. Add 2 spoons of sugar into it, it is still a mixture. Sugar solution. You add similarly whatever reason. See, the best example when you learn mixture and compound in this fashion, the best example is mixture, the bhel that we have had till date. Mixture, that is also called mixture. Some people we normally call bhel, but some people call it a mixture. What is it? It is addition of kurmura, seng, dal, tomato, onion, potato if you want, kairi, anything you can put in there, and it is in any proportion. You can just go on adding it in any proportion and it is a mixture. But this doesn't happen in compound. In compound, definitely there are 2 or more elements mixed in definite proportion. You can't take any proportion over here. That is the basic difference. The moment you will understand this, then only you will be able to understand rest of the things. What do you say? Tea is a compound or a mixture? Tea, chai is a compound or a mixture? Now think on this. Can I, if I add milk, 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of water, 2 spoons of sugar, 1 spoon of chai patti, it is a tea. If I add 3 spoons of sugar, 1 spoon of chai patti, it is a tea. If I don't add water, if I just make it in milk, it is a tea. So the proportion is not going to make any difference. That's why tea is a mixture. Are you getting? There is one problem, but which will not go through. But still, tea will also come into a mixture. Lemon juice, sharbat that you make, You add any amount of sugar in it, you don't add sugar in it, you add salt in it, you don't add salt in it, but lemon is needed because it is lemon sharbat. But then you take lemon in any quantity, 2 spoons, 3 spoons, 1 spoon, few drops. So the proportion is not going to make any difference. That's why lemon sharbat is a mixture. Are you getting? So here mixture is composed of two or more. Now better use the word substances because normally elements are not used over here. Substances mixed in indefinite proportion, or you can simply use the word any proportion, not fixed proportion. Try to understand the concept behind it. That is more than sufficient. But why I use the same word indefinite? Because it is an opposite of definite. This is in definite proportion, that is in indefinite proportion, any proportion. I hope now you are getting. Now you are see, if you learn in this fashion, ideas will get clearer and clearer. So this is where I have reached. You have understood elements and compound. Okay, there are still more properties. You will be able to understand them in a better way. Now going further, elements made up of same type, atoms of same type having same atomic number. Then atom is the smallest indivisible identity of element, whereas here molecule is the smallest indivisible identity of compound. My dear students, I will not number this both because this is only the difference between element and a compound. See why I am adding this. This is maybe not there in your syllabus also, but I am adding this because if question comes, distinguish between element and compound, so you should have considerable amount of points with you. So these are the 2 points, and again one more point is there. Is there a smallest? Of course, no, I don't think. After that, you just have to give examples. Example of element: hydrogen, sodium, magnesium, aluminium, phosphorus, sulfur, potassium, calcium. Just take anything. And example of compounds are water, carbon dioxide, hydrochloric acid, ammonium chloride, sulfuric acid. You take anything. Okay, that is the only thing that is possible, of course. But then if you have to write the short note on elements, so definitely the topic is not going to be that sufficient. Elements basically further are divided into metals and non-metals. I am talking about elements only now. Elements are made up of one type of atom having same atomic number. The smallest indivisible identity of the atom of the element is an atom. Atom is the smallest indivisible identity of an element. Again, if you go to learn more about elements, this is a huge topic when you go to 10th classification of elements. At that time, elements were first classified into 2 groups, metals and non-metals. So here if you will see, metals mostly are lustrous, shiny, whereas non-metals are non-lustrous. Of course, there are some examples, there are some exceptions. Non-lustrous, they are normally non-lustrous. They are good conductor of heat and electricity. I hope you know the examples of metals: iron, aluminium. They are all metals. Sodium also is a metal, magnesium, potassium, they are all metals. Whereas non-metals basically are carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, they are all carbons. So usually metals are good conductor of electricity: copper, aluminium, gold, they are all good conductors of electricity, whereas non-metals, chlorine, bromine, oxygen, nitrogen, they are basically not good conductors of electricity. Huh? Okay, we will write only electricity. They are poor conductors. They can be conducting, poor conductor of electricity. One more important thing, they are ductile. They are ductile. This is a property, my dear student. Ductility is a property. Ductile means what? See, if I think about making a string means tar banaya, string, then I can make string of iron, gold, aluminium. I can make string only of these things, metallic things. I can't make string of non-metallic things. If I try to make a string, a tar of carbon, it will not stay for long. Wood, oxygen, of course it is a gaseous state, तो उसका तो सवाल ही नहीं पैदा होता है. So these all things, they are not ductile. You can't make good string. Gold is highly ductile. Highly ductile. From 1 gram of gold, you can make a string as long as a kilometer long. That's what it is. It is highly ductile. So silver and all, they are ductile. This is not ductile. And they are malleable. Not malleable. What is the meaning of malleable? See, if I take a chalk or if I take a wood, if I hammer it, it may break. It may split. But same if I take a metal, if I keep on hammering it, it will go on pulping down. It will become a sheet, but it will not split. It will not break. I can beat them into sheets. Same I can't do with non-metals. They can't be beaten into sheets. So ductility, malleability, and they are sonorous. Not sonorous. What is the meaning of sonorous? Sonorous means, see, if you take bell is the best example. मंदिर में जो घंटा होता है या चर्च में जो घंटा होता है, that is sonorous. You just tang, they will go on doing that. They are basically sonorous. They create vibrations, and the vibrations basically create a sound. That is called as sonorous. Same I can't do with non-metals. You hit them, bang, that's all. Thud, that's all. They are not sonorous. Okay, and actually there are many more. But up to your topic, this is more than sufficient, and what is given to your textbook, according to that, this is more than sufficient. Of course, here they are good conductors of heat and electricity. Take both. Poor conductors of heat and why? Because there are also some substances that are called as metalloids. There are also some substances that are called as metalloids. Metalloids are substances which have properties of both, some properties of metals and some properties of non-metals. That's why they are called as metalloids. Properties of metals and non-metals together. Some properties of metals, some properties of non-metals, they have together, then we call them as a metalloid. So this is when you talk about elements. If supposing you have to write short note on elements or give the introduction of elements, so this is what you have to understand. Elements basically are made up of atoms of same type. They have same atomic number. Atom is the smallest indivisible identity of an element. You can't go beyond that. You can't break atom beyond that. Elements are of two types, broadly two types, metals and non-metals. You can consider metalloid also at that time. Elements are of various types, metals, non-metals and metalloids. Metals, they are lustrous, shiny, whereas non-metals are not lustrous, not shiny. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals are poor conductors of heat, and remember, they are not bad conductors. They don't conduct. It's not that they don't conduct heat and electricity at all. They conduct, but they are poor conductors of heat and electricity. They are ductile, that means they can be drawn into string. They are not ductile, they are malleable, they can be beaten into sheets. They cannot be beaten into sheets. They are sonorous, that they can create a vibrating sound. They are not sonorous. Metalloids are those who have the properties of both metals and non-metals. Examples are germanium, boron. They are all metalloids. Okay, my dear students, with this the topic of element gets over, and if they ask you to distinguish between element and compound, then these two topics are more than sufficient. Elements, compound, but here that, and of course the third point you can add is the examples of elements and examples of compounds. Example of element, by now you must have known: hydrogen, sodium, magnesium, any oxygen, carbon. One element you can take, any that you know: potassium, chlorine, fluorine, neon, argon, anything that you think of. Compound is definitely, you have to consider those things which have got two or more combinations: water, carbon dioxide, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid. Take any combination. This topic is even more interesting. It is not yet over. So when you talk about compound and mixture, this is really going to be more interesting. See, compound, when I told the first basic difference of compound and mixture, try to understand this, my dear student. It is really very interesting. Compound also are made up of two or more elements. Compound also are made up of two or more elements. Mixture are made up of two or more substances, but compound is mixed in definite proportion. Mixture is mixed in indefinite proportion. Example, very nice example here: water, H2O. It has to be in proportion of 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen only. You can't make any change over there. Carbon dioxide, proportion of carbon and 2 oxygen. Sodium chloride, proportion of 1 sodium, 1 chlorine. You can't take sodium and 2 chlorines and all. Okay. Mixture, a very beautiful example. You can consider a bhel. You put in anything, 2 or more substances mixed in any proportion is a mixture. Fine. That is not over, but definitely the next is second point I am going now. Try to understand. This is the second point. Second point, see, what about the properties? See, my dear student, pay attention very nicely. This is really very interesting. Hydrogen has some properties. Fine. Hydrogen has a property. Oxygen also has a property. Fine. Can you guess about the properties of hydrogen and oxygen? Oxygen supports combustion. If I talk about fire, oxygen is good for fire or bad for fire? Definitely oxygen is good for fire. It supports combustion. Whenever oxygen is there, whenever you supply some air to the fire, fire will burn brightly. So oxygen supports combustion. हाइड्रोजन इज कंबस्टिबल एंड हाईली कंबस्टिबल. ऐसा वैसा नहीं है, ऑक्सीजन तो सपोर्ट करता है खाली, बट हाइड्रोजन इज कंबस्टिबल. यू ब्रिंग अ स्मॉल अमाउंट ऑफ फायर नियर हाइड्रोजन, it will burn with a big sound. Hydrogen is highly combustible. Oxygen is supporting combustion. Now just imagine water, which is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Does it support combustion? Actually speaking, when anything is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, it should have been a bomb. It should have been something like a petrol. But no, water, actually we use it to extinguish fire. Try to understand this. The properties of hydrogen and oxygen, if you consider them separate, properties of hydrogen separate, properties of oxygen separate, when you consider their properties, they are both lost when they become water. Are you understanding? So in brief, how will I write this point? In a compound, the properties of constituent are totally different from the properties of the compound. Are you getting my point? The properties of constituent are totally different from the properties of a compound. One more beautiful example is, this happens in everywhere. Carbon dioxide also same, everywhere it happens the same. But I am giving you some beautiful examples. One more example is sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is basically salt that we use in our day-to-day food. There is no Indian food in which sodium chloride doesn't go. Think about sodium. Nobody can even think about having sodium. Sodium is so reactive, it reacts with any damn thing in this world. You hold it anywhere, it reacts with oxygen, it reacts with air. You put it in water, it reacts with water. It is highly dangerous. Chlorine is poisonous. Chlorine is poisonous actually. Pure chlorine, if anybody takes, person will die. Are you getting? But the combination of sodium and chlorine, we have it daily. We eat it daily. So, the properties of sodium and chlorine are completely lost in sodium chloride. So, this is what happens in a compound. In a compound, the properties of constituents are lost in the compound. And when you talk about mixture, no, this doesn't happen. सेंगदाना आएगा तो मालूम पड़ेगा, आहा, सेंगदाना is there. टमाटर आया, आहा, टमाटर is there. खट्टा आया, नींबू डाला है, नींबू जरा ज़्यादा हो गया. The properties of the constituent remain intact. Constituent don't lose their properties when you are in a mixture. Okay, if you are having a sharbat, you can make out salt is there, sugar is there, you can see, you can understand that sweet taste, you can understand that salty taste, lemon taste. If lemon is not there, अरे क्या नींबू डाला ही नहीं है, lemon शरबत है भाई, you can make out that sour taste. So the constituent elements don't lose their properties when you are in a mixture. Okay, my dear students, that is a very good point. So here, and a very good, the compounds, the property of compound are entirely different from the properties of their constituents. Are you getting my point, my dear students? Whatever are the constituent elements, they will be entirely different. The properties of the constituent elements will be entirely different from the properties of the compound. Whereas here, the constituent substances maintain their properties in a mixture. Are you getting this? I hope these 2 points, and they are very important points. Third point, see, when we make a bhel, or what do I do? Chalo, if I take a water, H2O, if I want to separate hydrogen and oxygen, can I separate it? No. If I think about a bhel is made, भेल बनाया, सेंगदाना डाला है भैया सेंगदाना डाला है, एंड आई डोंट वांट सेंगदाना, मेरे को एसिडिटी होता है, तो यू कैन पिक आउट द सेंगदाना, यू कैन गिव इट टू योर फ्रेंड, या तू ले, एंड यू कैन हैव द रेस्ट ऑफ द भेल, तू ले, यू कैन हैव द रेस्ट ऑफ द भेल. Are you getting? you can separate the constituent substances in a mixture by any simple physical process. Any simple physical process. Salt solution, definitely it is a mixture. Salt solution is a mixture, and if you want to separate salt from the water, no problem, evaporation, keep it down, water will evaporate, salt हाथ में आएगा. Simple evaporation, simple physical processes are sufficient to separate the constituents in a mixture. But to separate the constituents in a compound, you require chemical processes or electrochemical processes which have to be done in a laboratory. You can't use simple physical processes for that. So this may be the last point, the constituents in a compound are separated by chemical or electrochemical processes, whereas the constituent of mixture or in a mixture can be separated by simple physical means, processes, whatever you want to say. So this is basically, anything else is remaining? Definite proportion, indefinite proportion, and these are main things. And of course then you can give examples: carbon dioxide, hydrochloric acid, sodium chloride. Then here it is sugar solution, sugar solution in water, or suddenly I go blank. Sugar solution in water, then salt solution in water, then that's all. You can take any. Sometimes I really go blank. Too much of this. So that is done. Yes, I think that is done. Yes, we have done with this. This is a big topic, nice topic. And my dear students, one thing you have to remember now. There can be give reasons. See, let's distinguish between properties and all I have covered nicely. Don't worry about that. Elements, when you have to write, you just write all these things. Compound, when you have to write, you just write all these things, and you'll give examples in the end, and that the topic will be over. Mixture, you write these 3 points and then write the examples of mixture, topic will be over. But there are one or two, means there are types of give reasons, you have to understand that, which are very much nicely used, very much favorite of most of the teachers, that explain water is a compound, explain sodium chloride is a compound, explain air is a mixture of gases, means air is not a compound. At that time you have to understand and distinguish them or support your answer based on these distinguishes. See, if I am asked, explain that water is a compound, or give reason, is water a compound? Water is a compound, give reason. So basically I will start here. Compounds, the constituent elements are mixed in definite proportion. In water, 2 hydrogen molecules and 1 oxygen molecules have to be mixed in this proportion by weight. Therefore, this is 1 point is over. Are you getting my point? See, one is what? In a compound, the constituent elements are mixed in a definite proportion. Same is true in water. In water, 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom are mixed to make a molecule of water. Fine. The properties of compound are entirely different from the properties of constituent elements. First you tell what is a compound and then see that these all properties are proved in water. First make a statement. The properties of compound are entirely different from the properties of constituent elements. In water, the hydrogen is highly combustible. The element oxygen supports combustion, but the compound of hydrogen and water, that is hydrogen and oxygen, that is water, is used for extinguishing fire. Hence the properties of water are entirely different from the properties of hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so this is more than sufficient. Then you can, therefore water is a compound. Same will go for air. See, air is definitely a mixture of gases. Why? Because see, air is a mixture of gases not in definite proportion. Not in definite proportion. There are many things in air. Hydrogen, the oxygen and nitrogen are in more proportion, but after that there are in any proportion over there. Are you getting? And definitely the properties of the constituent elements in air are retained. How? If supposing it is a fresh air, so we know that oxygen rich air, so it is good. If the air is polluted and the polluted particles are mixed in air, so they will maintain that property and they will create problem for us. Are you getting? So these you have to write over there. Mixture, the constituent particles are mixed in any proportion. In air, the constituent gases like nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen and various other gases are mixed in any proportion. Secondly, the constituent elements in mixture maintain their properties, retain their properties. In air also, the constituent particles retain their properties. Oxygen rich air will be healthy, whereas polluted air will not be healthy for us. So the pollutants retain their property or oxygen retain their properties. Therefore air is a mixture. Are you getting, my dear students? So this is basically, they can ask you any other question. This can go to any level. At that time you have to take care. You have to understand the properties of compounds properly. You have to understand the property of mixture properly. And now if you have to justify it as a compound, then see to it that these all properties are seen in that example that has been asked for you. Okay, my dear students. So this is how this topic ends. I hope I have been clear with this, and of course I'll try to get some important questions. And when I give you the questions, my dear students, when you learn the questions, if you have any doubt in understanding any answer, kindly put that page number and the question number to me with the question if possible. I'll make a separate video for explaining the answer, question and the answer. How is that answer related with the question? My dear students, in science it is very important. Don't by heart the answers. Never do that mistake, especially in physics, chemistry. Don't do that mistake. Bio also you should not do that mistake, but certain times in bio you have to by heart the answers. I don't disagree with that. But physics and chemistry, you don't do that mistake at all. You have to understand the concept and write the answer in the way that you feel. That's why, my dear students, you must have noticed my answers, I just feel at that time, I write that time, and I write it in that way only. I know that my ideas are going to be written and they will come in that format. As long as your ideas are coming in your answer, then the language doesn't matter. You don't worry. Now you are in 9th. And you have to be bold enough to write your answer in your language. Don't get bothered. Don't get scared that if I change this language, then a marks teacher will cut. I don't guarantee about school teachers. School teachers definitely have a different approach when they are correcting your answers. Their approach is to find your mistakes and cut your marks, because they have to prepare you for your board exams. So definitely they will cut your marks wherever it is possible. But my dear students, board exams teacher always find reasons for giving you marks. Where they see knowledge, they will give you marks because they are judging your knowledge. There is a big difference between this approach of the two teachers, and both the teachers are right in their places. But you being a student should know what is your approach. Your approach should be that you should write your answers in your language. Why? Because in board exams they will ask you any damn thing, any question which will be concept based, and you should be able to make your own answers as long as you understand this concept, that compound. What is a compound? In a compound, the constituents are mixed in any in a definite. I'm very sorry. In a compound, the constituents are mixed in a definite proportion. So in this example, what is given to me? How are the constituents mixed? Are they in definite proportion or not? Judge it. And if it is not in definite proportion, बेझिझक उसको mixture बोलो and tell it over there. In a tea, I can add any amount of sugar, any amount of milk, any amount of tea powder. Since the constituent elements are mixed in indefinite proportion, tea is a mixture. You can write it in your language. Don't bother about the scientific language. Are you getting my point? Just see that whatever the example is there in front of you, does it need a definite proportion of constituent to be mixed? See, I know that I am using this language, and when I use this language, it may be that there is a problem, my dear students. When I try to be definite in my language, my students may get scared that do I have to write in this language only? It is possible, but I have to speak in this language. Why? Because I will like to see my students writing in an ideal way. Ideal way, but that doesn't mean if a student is writing in his language, it is a wrong answer. It doesn't mean that. You will definitely get full marks. Same question I will write in your answer. If they ask you tea is a compound or not, while making tea, while भी अगर तुम्हारे ध्यान में नहीं आ रहा है, when tea is made, put sugar in any, नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, क्वांटिटी लिखूं, तुम्हारे ध्यान में नहीं आ रहा है. Put sugar how much you want. Put milk how much you want. Put tea powder, ये तुमको याद में आना मांगता है. I can't help it over here. Tea powder how much you want. No fix amount, no fixed size, no fixed size is there of milk, tea, sugar to make tea. Therefore, tea is a mixture. लिखो, बोर्ड में फुल मार्क्स मिलेगा. I am telling you, बोर्ड में फुल मार्क्स मिलेगा. स्कूल टीचर के बारे में नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. And there, because she wants you to learn this language. She wants you to learn this language, and that she is not doing anything wrong by doing that. But if you write this in boards, I am telling you, 2 out of 2. Actually, if any other students write it in a proper language, that tea, the constituents of tea are milk, sugar, tea powder. Since in a mixture the constituents are mixed in indefinite proportion, and in a tea the constituent milk, tea powder, sugar are also mixed in indefinite proportion, that's why it is justified that tea is a mixture. If he writes in this fashion, chances are there, the 2 marks, the 2 chances are there that board moderators will give full marks to the person who has written in his language, because he knows that this is my student's ka answer. This is possible that he isne ratta mara hai. It is highly possible. Not definite, but possible. So he will give 2 marks over here, but he will definitely give 2 marks over here. So that's why, my dear students, But that to write that answer like this, you have to be bold. That हिचकिचाहट, that डर, लिखूँ तो right है, लिखूँ तो wrong है, don't bother about that. लिखो. I am telling all this thing only because you are in 9th, and that boldness is to be gathered now. Understand the concept in this fashion properly. What is happening in an element, what is happening in a compound, what is happening in a mixture. Definitely your exams will be having questions based on this topic, definite, because this is a very important topic, very very important topic. Write your answers on your own, don't by heart anything. Understand the concept, make your own answers right over there. Okay my dear students, see you all, thank you.